I'm so excited to bring to you today an interview with Madeline Mann about how to interview for a leadership position. She shares 3 key tips that are incredibly important for leaders or new managers interviewing for a management VP or director role to pay attention to during the interview to increase their chances of getting the job. Madeline has recently been named as one of the top 50 people to follow on LinkedIn, and her YouTube channel, Self-Made Millennial, which is full of amazing advice and tips on career and job search, is one of the top 10 YouTube channels on job hunt or job search. So she is an amazing human being, incredibly fun to watch and to follow. So check her out on LinkedIn and dive into our interview today. Hi, Madeline. So great to have you on for this short interview today.
Thank you so much, Ramona. So glad to be here.
It's been so wonderful kind of seeing your actual posts and activity on LinkedIn and seeing all the awesome value that you bring to this platform and to YouTube and your channel and all the tips and tricks. So everyone who does not know Madeline yet, check out the link in this post, but also we'll include some additional links where to find more. But we'll get to that at the very end of all the awesome stuff that she does and brings out into this world. But what we're going to talk about today is how to interview for a leadership position, because that's one of the key expertise that you have.
Yes, I have been interviewing all types of people throughout my career, but especially I've noticed with these people in executive levels, VP, managers, there are certain things that they need to bring to the interview that are so important. And that there's also these key mistakes that they make that I think they actually are doing them on purpose, thinking that they will come across as better, but they're actually hampering their ability to get the role.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is so interesting because it's often the things that we're not aware of. We're trying to do our best and we think this is really positioning us well, when in fact the impact is not exactly aligned with our intention there, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so I'm so keen to hear what are your key tips. Let's start with tip number 1. What would you recommend to a leader who goes into an interview or a new manager, someone who's interviewing specifically for a leadership role?
Yes. So my first tip is vet the opportunity thoroughly. So we've probably heard that you should be asking questions in the interview when you're an interviewee. Now, when you are going for a leadership role, that is so much more important, because when you are asking these specific questions about the business and the role and the team, it will dramatically increase how much they respect you. So a couple example questions you could ask are, what are some of the biggest challenges the company will face this year? And how will this role impact those challenges? Or another one is, how will my performance be measured so that we can track my progress against these goals? So now they're like, wow, this person is thinking about the business challenges and how this role connects. They're thinking about, how are we going to measure me to make sure I'm doing my best? Like, these are the ways leaders think. And so by asking these questions, you're going to provoke them to think, wow, okay, this person is trying to find the best possible job for them, and they're thinking strategically.
Yes, I love this. It's so important how these little things like actually demonstrate the leadership abilities, and people start envisioning, oh, this is the kind of question that they're asking now, and I'm making up this story, whether true or not, that these are the type of questions that they will be asking once in their role. And that's exactly the person that we need, someone who's critical and is, measures things and is kind of has a broad perspective of like, what are some of the risks on the horizon, and asks those challenging questions. Yeah, love it. So good. What is the tip number 2 that you have?
Yes, so this is one that I think people do that really can hurt them. So what I say is, admit when you don't know something. So I've gone through a lot of, especially C-level interviews, where these leaders will be dropping jargon and name dropping, and they'll just be kind of spinning this word salad of things that show that they don't actually know what I asked, or they're not really sure exactly the answer, but they're just starting to drop their philosophy and all these terms. And it's a way to get around the question. And it's over time of interviewing, it's become very transparent of who actually understood the question and has a specific answer, and who is more just kind of using this jargon-filled answer. And so a way when even someone brings up something in an interview where you don't know what they're talking about, you can propose it as a conversation starter. So you can say something like, I'm not familiar with that software. What drew you to use that one instead of the typical leading brands? And so now you're showing that you want to learn, you value their perspective, you're curious, instead of, kind of working your way around this answer.
This is such an interesting point, because it's a complete shift to how we're typically trained. Often we are trained to answer the specific question. And then even if we don't know it, like try to make something up on the fly, or we just then retract and say like, well, I don't know, right? So, but that is also just kind of like the dead end. But what you're saying is, no, shift your mind to take that question as a conversation starter. You showcase your curiosity, the interesting perspective, without making it a dead end or just going in it.
Exactly. You own it. You own that you don't know it, and you just use that as, hey, my career is all about learning. I'm excited to have this conversation. Exactly.
Love it. Yeah, I can see how as a person running the interview, that is such a fresh approach and would really make someone stand out from other candidates. Okay, so we talked about 3. What's the third tip that you have to share?
Okay, so this one's interesting, and it is use fewer words and simpler language. Now, there's lots of psychologists show that speaking concisely and simply is actually the most associated with intelligence, which blew my mind, because I always want to learn new words and have this, really great vocabulary, but being able to distill ideas quickly and concisely is what will make people want to follow you. And so, I've seen on so many occasions that candidates are being rejected for being long-winded, and I see it especially in leadership roles, well beyond individual contributors. For example, I asked a leader, tell me about yourself, and her answer, it was a 30-minute phone screen, and 20 of those minutes were answering, tell me about yourself. And she was just going on and on about all these things about her past, whereas really that answer should be 1, maybe 2 minutes to get that, first dose of really understanding her, and then we'd move into deeper questions. And that is the feedback I hear from a lot of different interviewers, is that I had all these questions asked that were so much more important, but this person kept being so verbose. And a lot of the comments I also hear is that this person seems scattered. They seem, their role needs to be where they are extremely structured and organized, and they seem like they have all these different tangents going on in their mind, which is not the way a leader should be perceived.
Yeah.
And so the way I approach this then is, instead of diving in and answering a question that's really vague, like, how do you approach hiring? Such a vague question. You could go on for an hour answering that. Ask a clarifying question first. Like, oh, are you interested in the process I built, or some of the ways I find talent? Or, you can ask a follow-up question, and then they usually get to the root of why they're actually asking it.
Yeah.
And then while you're answering the question, ask a question. Like, I could talk more about this. Is this kind of where you were hoping that this question would go? Or, I could talk, you just kind of check in when you've been talking for about a minute, and that can help you to make sure you're on the right track.
Yeah. Oh God, Deb was like, this needs to be unpacked for a second. Like, there's so much gold in this. One, you said, that was so interesting. You said how sometimes recruiters, in the natural, we all do, we see someone answer a question, and we then interpret the way they answered this as part of their personality. So that person went on, and maybe that person was just wanting to make sure that they really understood, or wanting to make sure they get to share all of the strength that they have, prepared for. or maybe they feel uncomfortable with silence and it's just like keep going on and on. But in the interviewer's perspective, they're now making assumptions like this person is scattered and it's not a fit for the role. This person is long-winded and it's not a fit with the leadership team, right? We need someone who's clear and concise. The team won't get them if they speak that way.
Absolutely. We were hiring once for a C-level role, and there was someone who he was very scattered in his email communication between interviews. He would just write, random sentences, and it was confusing, and he wouldn't answer the questions that we asked. And it actually hurt him in the interviews because we were thinking, is this the way it's going to be every day working with him? That it's going to be, difficult to communicate over email, that there's going to be, things are going to constantly be changing. Now that could have just been a bad week for him. He could have, something catastrophic could have happened in his life. But yeah, exactly. Every single point in the interview is showing the way you lead.
Yep. Yeah. So it's not just about what we're saying, but it's how we're saying it that really forms the picture that someone gets from us in the interview. And so the second thing that you said in your answer was how to navigate this flow of conversation and to check in first. Am I understanding the question correctly? Or in which area do you want me to focus on? Because I could talk for a long time. Let's really get to the point and the most meaningful aspect of that. And then second, also check in as you start talking. Is this the right direction? I can go further, or was this answering the question already? And to have that check-in so that the other person feels engaged, and it's a bit of the ping pong or the tennis ball, right, that goes forth and back, and it's not like sitting in one corner for too long. I love that. And you're also showing a bit of leadership of, hey, I can adapt. I'm co-leading this interview with you.
Exactly. You're adapting. I love that. Is such an amazing leadership trait.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome. Oh my God, these 3 tips are so insightful. I love your perspective on this, on how leaders are demonstrating way more than just what they're saying in the interviews, and so much more goes into ultimately deciding and evaluating candidates and then deciding on who to go for. Love this. So Madeline, where can we learn more about you?
Absolutely. So you can find me on my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/self-made-millennial. I have over 90 videos on there for you all to check out. I also am on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/in/Madeline Mann. Please come on there and interact with me. And finally, I did put together a freebie worksheet for you all. It is how to sketch out your answer to the question, tell me about yourself, in the interview, so that you're not that leader who goes on for 20 minutes. This is a format that really works, helps you to be concise and impress them right off the bat. So I will share that link with your network.
Awesome. Love it. Yeah. Love worksheets and frameworks to help us kind of find structure in this whole place. And yes, I can't encourage enough to check out Madeline on YouTube and LinkedIn. Her videos are funny, entertaining, hilarious, and just amazingly insightful. So go check her out. Madeline, thank you so much for being on today and sharing your time and your wisdom with us. Thanks
so much, Rona. Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.